WCEG Network. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. You can log on to WCEGTalkRadio.com or you can watch us live on your smart TV on the Roku cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, Lukin, and now on Fanbase, Blue Sky, and Twitch. Search for WCEG and subscribe on all social media platforms. I'm Earnestine D. Pittman, former mayor of the city of East Point. I'm your host today for the next hour. The topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not media enterprise. You may download our free WCEG mobile app by say, Alexa, play WCEG Talk Radio. I am so happy to have the opportunity to meet with you this afternoon for the next hour. And I want to talk to you on Take a Stand today about election readiness. Now, election readiness includes residents who are voters and candidates who are seeking to represent you on your local council. Here in East Point, that's our mayor and council. We have 5 seats up for re-election. The mayor seats and the 4 at-large wards A, B, C, and D, respectively, council seats. There are 4 incumbents running in this election. But before we talk about whom we're going to vote for, you need to know why you are voting. Why is there a need to change, if any, of the incumbents? And what do you know about your present government? Informed voters know the issues and the candidates. Too often, we have voters' remorse. You didn't believe what the Democrats told you about President Trump, and now you have voters' remorse. You do not believe what is happening in the state of Georgia because we still have a Republican majority, and we have the Democrats are vastly outnumbered, and that is because in a lot of the rural areas, we do not have candidates running as Democrats against Republicans. That is sad. No candidate should run unopposed. No candidate should run unopposed because there's always more work to be done, and new blood and new life is often needed to get that job done. Well, let's get down to this. As a voter, your responsibility is to elect the best person who will represent you and the city of East Point. If you are not aware of how your government works and what your local mayor and council are supposed to be doing in representing you, then you are not an informed voter. If you are not aware of the candidates and where they stand on the issues, the most serious issues that affect you, then you are not an informed voter, which means you help those who are not representing you and your best interest. Now, how many East Point residents know what the real issues are with our local government? Do you know that the $59 million unfunded pension for 203 beneficiaries has been paid after a 10-year plan voted on in 2013? $6 million was allocated each year beginning in 2014. How was the money allocated in the 2025 budget? Most of you are unaware of this. Thanks to the pension board, Pension Board and their wonderful president over there, who has been over there for the past 12 years, I know. And they have done a wonderful job. I don't know why mayor and council did not have a burning of the debt documents for that unfunded pension. $59 million for 203 beneficiaries, and not a single employee paying into that fund. That debt has been retired. $6 million for the past 10 years have been used to pay off that debt. Now, where is that $6 million in the budget? Could you think of a need for that money? Could it have gone to Parks and Rec? Could it have gone to help with the renovation of the auditorium? That also had a reserve fund started in 2013 of $600,000 a year for the renovation or the building of a new fine arts building. You talk about you want downtown to be lively. You want it to be a place, a gathering place for the residents in East Point. What represents the greatest building that we now have currently, if renovated or replaced, that would cause that to happen? Where the council in 2014 wanted to use the money to renovate the auditorium. Well, where are the completed renovations? It doesn't take 10 years. We have we have at least $8 million in the reserve account. We have access to $6 million that had been used to pay off the unfunded debt. That's $14 million. Surely we don't need $14 million to complete the renovations of the city auditorium, where you could bring in entertainers. You could have all kinds of entertainment. And we could meet in front of it if any wisdom and vision for the city existed on the present council, and hopefully for the new council that will be seated on January the 1st, 2026. But where's your vision for the city? Residents, what do you know? What do you want? And how far are you willing to go to get it and get it done? Next, let's talk about how is the mayor and council holding each other accountable for misusing their credit cards for travel outside of Georgia and the United States, food, shopping, restaurants, gas, personal legal representation, and other illegal expenditures. This money belongs to residents of the city of East Point. It does not belong to the council, the mayor and council, to use as their own personal funds. To date, we do not have a policy that holds mayor and council responsible for out-of-state travel, for illegal expenditures that I have named. We did not have a policy when I left office because it was not a problem while I was in office as a council member and later as a mayor. We did what we were supposed to do when it came to mayor and council members' funding. Our budget called for 3 items in it that mayor and council had access to and control over: travel and training and ward expense account. and education. Those three things stated in the budget. In this year's budget, 2025, 2026 budget coming up, you have, I believe, $10,000 for travel and training, $10,000 education, and $2,000 for communicating with your ward constituents. That comes to $22,000. It may be 23 or 24. I don't know the final list that was in the budget because it was never stated at any of the budget hearings that you did not attend, residents, nor was it stated by any of the council members at any town hall meetings that never took place either. But let's stick with the $22,000. That is all the money that will pay for any legal travel expenses, educational pursuits, and communicating with your constituents. It does not cover any trips out of Georgia, going to Washington to talk to any business that you disagree with, so you're going to take a trip to the headquarters. That's what our mayor did. The council did not vote for her to go and represent the city in any capacity. Therefore, that trip was on her. Then we have travel outside of the country. That's by Council Member Joshua Butler. Oh, he went to two different continents. The city of East Point did not vote to have him to go any place in Africa or in Alaska or anywhere else to represent the city and its interests. Therefore, those trips were his personal trips. And as residents, we ought to be demanding our money, that it be reimbursed for those trips that were taken without the vote of mayor and council as to what the goals, the reasons, and how the city would be impacted by the council member and the mayor taking that trip. We also have council members using their cards to buy gas, to go food shopping, and eating at restaurants. Now, since I called the mayor's name and council member who is not running for re-election, and council member Butler, I should also say that there are several council members up there who have been misusing their credit cards, not to the extent of the thousands and thousands of dollars that some council members have. But I intend to, I'm not going to do that. You start doing some checking on your own. You have every right to go and request through open records the credit card statements for each council member up there. Or you can just simply go to my website and see the ones that I've already paid for to have for you to see. But it is documented. Council members are misusing your money. Now, there's a new council member Tremaine Mitchell, who is working on ordinances that will address the spending, misuse of credit card use, and travel. He has not presented those two pieces of legislation to the council, but it is a bright spot, and it is something that is needed. And that is nothing to keep that council from saying today, I am going to bring a motion to the floor at the next council meeting requesting reimbursement for all the misuse of council members for the past 2 years. If you go any further, you would bankrupt some. All right. What the mayor and do you know what the mayor and council are doing about an agency in the city manager's office that has a budget and employees that was not created by them? Our charter clearly says only the mayor and council by vote can create any committees, task force, agencies, and departments for the city of East Point. Well, without a vote creating the agency of equity, diversity, and I forget the name of the other one. That agency was founded by using $1 million of the rescue money. In fact, at the time it was brought to the council, it was already in existence before the council voted for the non-existent agency. $1 million had already been earmarked and was being used. Now, what kind of city government is that? I mean, what do they take us for, and what are we allowing them to take us for? Diversity, equity, and inclusion is not a legal agency in the city of East Point. Therefore, it should not have a budget, let alone employees anywhere in the city. Until we get a handle on how we spend our money, who is spending our money, and why is our money being spent for certain things, we are never going to move forward. We are never going to move forward in doing all the things that we are capable of doing with the expenses that we have. Now, another thing, why has the mayor and council, after 10 years, not created an ordinance to an implementation for the Stormwater Administrative Board? Now, let's talk about that for a minute. The Stormwater Utility Ordinance was never meant to cover stormwater, the city's stormwater system of pipes. It was never meant for that. It was meant to help residents in the city whose property was being destroyed or being severely negatively impacted by erosion caused by stormwater runoff, sinkholes, development that had not been properly inspected and guided by the city, as well as storm pipes on private property that was never joined with the city of East Point pipes. They were never dedicated to the city. Most homeowners, 99% of them, if not 100% of them, did not know that these pipes existed on their property until they collapsed or stormwater runoff eroded the dirt away from them. Then there they were left with pipes never dedicated to the city. They had no idea that these pipes were on their land. Once we ascertained those facts, then former Mayor Joe Macon, who's now deceased, and Councilwoman, former Councilwoman Teresa Nelson, spearheaded, and we talked and we met. We had town hall meetings about what could we do legally to help these residents, to help our communities, and not end up with certain parts of our city decayed out, and people buying property and not knowing what pitfalls existed. We created the stormwater utility to help residents and to make use of the knowledge that the administration in 2000, 1999, 2000 gained from Prime. Prime was a development company that walked the city and identified all the water tributaries, the minute ones as well as the bigger ones. East Point is a porous city. We have water trickling everywhere. You are not allowed to dam up any water tributary in the city of East Point, regardless of its size and where it emanates from. Over time, the banks have eroded. Decay from leaves, branches have fallen into some. We knew that no one was going to go and clean them up if it flowed down through their property. It's too arduous, it's too expensive, and you have no control over what is coming down from upstream, downstream, except to go to the city and say, well, this is coming down here and it's causing problems over here. So we created the utility stormwater utility. In it, it plainly states where 20% of the money was to go and the other 80% how it was to be used. Now, I'm really frankly sick and tired of hearing the mayor complain about not having enough stormwater money, that we created a stormwater utility and did not charge enough fees. If she had taken the time to read the stormwater ordinance, or ask anyone, or even gone back and read the minutes leading up to it, if she was not living in the city at the time, she would have known it was never to rid the city of its responsibility of having its own stormwater system throughout the city with its own pipes. That is not the purpose of the stormwater utility fee. I am ashamed of too many residents in this city. We had an 80-year-old veteran that I have talked about previously to come before the council stating that he had a sinkhole in his yard since December, and the city knows it has a problem with that creek over there where he lives, and they have done nothing about it. Not anything about it. He's paid the stormwater fee for 10 years. In fact, the city has collected over $17 million in stormwater money that was supposed to be going towards 80% of the things outlined and identified in the stormwater utility. They haven't done it. They have used that money for any and whatever purpose they wanted to. And the sad part about it, we, the residents in this city, have not supported him, have not stood up and said, we pay our stormwater fee to cover things like this. We pay to do this. You haven't said a word. You have been silent. $17 million. And the cost to fix the sinkhole on his property is $9,000. And they want him to pay $3,000. He can't appeal to the city because there is no administrative appeals board in effect. After 10 years of collecting stormwater fee money, no mayor and council, starting in 2014, when the money was first collected, has taken the time to come up with an ordinance creating a stormwater administrative appeals board. We wrote that ordinance, and we stated at the time that we wrote it and we voted on it that no city employee would ever have the right to tell an East Point resident, no, we are not going to help you to try to save your property and lessen the impact of stormwater on it and cause you to have to lose your home or be miserable in your home. At the last council meeting, a resident came and talked about another problem in the city with water coming down and impacting their property. That is what the stormwater utility is supposed to cover. There is no way you're going to have city-laid sewer line, water lines, and stormwater lines all over the city in everybody's yard. You have to pay for the water and sewer lines in your yard. We don't have stormwater lines in our yards, and we don't need them because we have stormwater lines running separately from water and sewer lines to collect stormwater runoff on our streets. But you don't have stormwater lines in the woods behind your house where water is running down from a little creek or stream. The stormwater utilities ordinance is one of the most compassionate piece of legislation that the city has ever passed. And what are you doing as residents to make sure that the money being paid for these fees, in these fees, are being used properly? Nothing. Now, we come to another item. Do you know why the mayor and council continue to misuse city funds to pay for their events? Do you? In the first place, mayor and council don't have events funded using taxpayers' money. That is something this council started with some of the members up there. Now, not all of the members were up there in 2014. This started and is an outgrowth of council administrations since 2014. Events. Who are council members and the mayor to have public funding for their pet projects that they oversee and administrate? Who are they to consider themselves worthy of the amount of money that goes into these events that they create or start without any input from the residents in the first place? Well, residents don't have anything to say because they're illegal. Council members and the mayor do not supposed to be collecting money to pay for these events for the simple reason that our charter says the mayor has no administrative authority. Our form of government, council manager, states no mayor or council member have any administrative relationship with the city manager or any employee of the city. Our mayor and council members are legislators. They are not administrators. They don't have a budget with a secretary anywhere in the city keeping up with their expenditures for things that they are not supposed to be spending. And you need to understand that. I don't care how much you like wind down Wednesday. And too many of you who have come to council meetings, even though it hadn't been that many, never fails to come down there and talk about Wind Down Wednesday and how you love it and how the people love it. I don't love it. I paid taxes in East Point till I turned 70. We had an auditorium that we had events and all in that benefited the people who lived here in the city where we could congregate. And now in the budget, this year's budget, $450,000 allocated in the budget for Wind Down Wednesday. No mayor and council have ever voted for that event. Never. Yet, they have never voted not to spend money for it either. They have never voted to have it, and they have never voted to stop it. Which means they all are complicit in its happening. They participate, many participate in certain phases of the administrative part of it happening, which is a direct conflict of our form of government and a direct conflict with our charter. But you don't care. You're having a good time. You sound just like Trump. You're acting like Trump. If I want it, makes me feel good, forget the law. Forget the charter. Forget the ordinance. Forget everything except I want what I want when I want it, and you're going to pay for it. That is the attitude of too many of those council members sitting up there now. That is a problem. It is a big problem. Every cent that was placed in that allocated for the Wind Down Wednesday event was placed in the non-departmental budget account. If it were not, it should have been, because there is not a single department in the city of East Point that is allowed to fund and finance and administrate that event. You said, council, you put it under the city manager. The city manager does not have a discretionary budget. Nowhere in the state of Georgia, in the form that all budgets are to take based on practical principles, is there anything called city manager's discretionary fund. And when I heard one council member at the first meeting in August say, well, the city manager will determine how much over that. The city manager does not determine spending in the city of East Point. Our charter clearly states how money is supposed to be spent from the budget, and that lies in the hands of mayor and council, except for a few exceptions. That's plain. If any council member or any candidate for the council cannot read that paragraph and understand it, They don't have any business being in office or running for office. It's not difficult. But when we talk about things here in this city, you talk about those that are salacious, those that are going to cause big disappointment, disgust, anger on the part to get even with another council member. And let's go straight to the point there. We're talking about the audit and what came out in the audit. Well, believe it or not, the item that received the most talk, the most heat, was the payment of a residential payment of the utility bill. And for those of you out there who do not know, for once, the city complied with every policy that is written concerning how and what the city responsibility is and that of the resident when it comes to paying a utility bill, their utility bill. The resident is supposed to pay their utility bill based on the policy of 1 day past the due date, the bill is late. 8 days past the due date, the bill is up to be disconnected. If the resident goes in or calls in and make arrangements, then a payment plan is agreed upon, and that money is moved off the regular bill into another account to be paid. At the same time, the resident pays the regular bill the next month. Now, common sense should tell some of us, if I didn't have the money for a $250 bill this month, and I now have a bill of $250, and I'm supposed to pay $15 or $20 a month. Can't be for 6 months because that's not going to come up to $200. For 6 months, I'm on a payment plan. Or a year, I'm on a payment plan. Well, we know that people have illnesses in their families, that you lose your job, that you're on a fixed income, and I mean a fixed income where you cannot go out because of disability, health reasons, or whatever, and get another job to pay it. I have been talking about we need to go back and look at that. And then here comes COVID. During COVID, the city of East Point received funding that was supposed to help pay the mortgage or rent and utilities for residents who were behind, and to keep their utilities on. There is no way the city of East Point used that money to pay for past due bills, and we still have some residents paying on bills that started back there. And if that was not enough, we got $13 million plus $1 million in rescue money. The city council, mayor and council, did nothing when it came before them. That $1 million was going to be taken for a non-existent diversity, equity, and inclusion agency to be run out of the city manager's office. Not $25,000, not $100,000, to be used to make current all past due utility bills for whatever reason in the city. The money was going into the city from the federal government. Instead, $1 million went for DEI. Now, will somebody please tell me, in this black 95% city, why we do have diversity, we do have inclusion, and we do have equity? Because all the residents, no, let's not say equity. Let's say we have some are more equal than others. But all the residents in the city have gotten a short end of the stick from mayor and council when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. If you're a friend of mine, if you're a sorority sister, I'm a fraternity brother, I'm a mama church member, or what have you, then regardless of your color, regardless of your class, you have more diversity, equity, and inclusion rights than those who do not have those type of human relationships. Now, what kind of jobs here in East Point that's not diversified, that we don't we don't have equity in inclusion? What kind of committees are there? We did not need diversity, equity, and inclusion agency in the city of East Point. Right now, we have the most diverse council that we have ever had. And it had nothing to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion goals in this city. Not a thing. So we need to get rid of what we did not legally bring in, that diversity, equity, and inclusion agency. Now let's get back to paying family members' utility bills. In the first place, there is no such thing in the city of East Point that addresses bills being paid by family members. The city has no legal standing or legal ground for ask any family member to pay a bill for a utility customer. The city has exhausted all of its remedies for the resident whose bill was in arrears. And that was to finally place a lien on the property. That should be for any resident, regardless of who the family members are in the household. And I wrote an apology on behalf of the compassionate and law-abiding citizens in the city of East Point to the resident whose name and information was disclosed in violation of city policies, in violation of city protocol and practices that were followed by the city until the audit came up, and that was put there totally for embarrassing and humiliating another human being. While that same council sat up there, having traveled and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on any and everything under the sun, and not a single resident came up there and said one word. You didn't do it, and you were wrong. You were wrong. If my husband were to predecease me, I would have, and our utilities are in his name, I would have to go up to City Hall, customer care building. We still say City Hall, up to customer care building. And in order to have that my name, his name taken off the account and it transferred to me, I would have to produce a death certificate and pay a reconnection. I mean, a new fee. That's the family policy that we have here in East Point. The same thing would be for a child. If when my husband and I are deceased, and one of our daughters says, well, I'm going to move in, she would have to show a will or something that gives her the right to eat to the property, even though the utilities are not in arrears. So come off your high horse. We have laws in this city, and we need to abide by them. And we need to make sure our employees are abiding by them. And when the employees do, they don't need to be crucified or fired or be retaliated against because they did. However, that information just didn't get leaked. I've been hearing it for years. So employees need to stay in their lane and keep their mouth closed if it involves private conversations in which the city has a privacy law. Now, for those of you who want to see these bank statements on my website is EarnestineDPittman.com. It's the Informer. That's EARNESTINE, as in David, Pittman, PITTMAN.com. And you can go into the archives and find all kinds. And if you want some more up-to-date ones, if you send me an email, I'll send it back to you. I had to on open records. But then you need to start spending some of your money to do something. Then maybe you'll care enough about your city to make sure that no resident is ever put down, that no monies are being misused. And another thing, let's talk about here the failure, and we're still talking about what was left in the audit, what came of the forensic audit. Failure to adhere to financial procedures and protocols. That means our in-house auditors, checks and balances. In order for the city to pay a bill, it first has to be cleared with the city manager and the finance director. And we have in-house auditors, and how procedures and protocols are set in place so they are documented, checks are written, reconciled. They hadn't been reconciling them at the bank. And at the end of the year, we have outside auditors who provides the city with a management letter. If they have been doing our yearly audits like they're supposed to, truly the outside auditors in their management letter that we received every year when I was on council as a council member and the mayor, telling us what protocols need to be in place, what protocols need to be instituted, implemented. But you know what, residents of East Point, you have a mayor and council up there that has not had a single finance, a budget committee meeting as of the first council meeting in August. But they passed the budget back there in June. Did they know or have any documents or any surety that what was being estimated as income revenue and to be spent as expenditures was going to balance out? No. Had they been having committee budget meetings, they would have known. And Romano, the no, never would have gotten all of those wire transfers because of some training error. And while we're on that, the FBI, through open record, says they're not investigating what the city keeps claiming that they are. No, they are not. And let's get back to this audit that we know is true. Yes, it's true. They're not the budget and committee and the finance committee, one and the same, are not meeting. And it is pathetic that that mayor and council combined the two committees because they could not get 3 council members to serve on one and another 3 to serve on the other. All they want to do is to come to a council meeting where they may or may not say something, show up at work session where they may or may not say or do anything. You watch them. We don't have any standing committees operating outside of planning and zoning. But we want to talk about how progressive we are. You have gone back past what any council that I have ever known since I've been living in the city of East Point the past 52 years. We've always had a budget committee, finance committee, and they met every month. The meetings were open to the public. Things got done. We knew what was happening. Where are by the boards? What is downtown, East Point Downtown Authority doing? Nothing. And when you go and appoint people to these different boards and positions, you appoint your friends who's going to do what you said do when and if they show up. That's not being competent. That's not what we need or want. And it is not what the law says we're supposed to have from our form of government. Oh, I'm going to be talking about you all, residents and council members and candidates, up until November and then on. It dawned on me, ever since I left office as mayor, I have signed up to run in every campaign except this one. I would not have signed up for the last one, but that's a different story. And you know why I was signed up? To get out a citywide newsletter. It's going to cost over $3,000 to do it. Just on mailboxes or residences. Because I believe residents have to be informed. Voters have to be informed in order to make informed decisions. Well, this time I said, no, I'm not doing that. You didn't pay any attention before. What I am going to do, I am going to get with those willing to work to have a better city by communicating with each other, not misinformation, but correct information about what is going on in our city and what we need to do to correct those things that are wrong and to listen to those things and the people who have ideas about what to do to correct them. How do we move forward? We don't want to hear the same old spiel for economic developments. We can do this. You can't do anything when you don't know where $6 million that had been spent for the past 10 years is not showing up in your budget in some kind of new program or an increase in an old program. Some of you didn't even know that. You can't move forward when you have money being thrown away in a program called diversity, equity, and inclusion when you don't have residents in the city who are able. We want to talk about inclusion. Let's talk about the disabled. Let's talk about the seniors. Let's talk about the people who are below poverty and that poverty level. Where is the assistance for them? Let's talk about it. Then let's see how we can make things happen in our city legally. Legally. That is what we need to do. So I'm just bewildered at this point. I don't understand why we cannot move forward in this city with all the people that we have who are capable. Why do we have such poor candidates running to represent us and poorer elected officials who've been up there for years? How many of you out there as residents can honestly say you have heard a motion brought to the floor, a meaningful motion brought to the floor at least once by every council member up there except the mayor, who can't bring motions to the floor? You can't. You can't. But you're out there campaigning on personalities. Personality, you can have the greatest personality in the world and be the poorest and the worst legislator ever lived. You can be a great legislator and people not going to like you because of how you look, how you talk, or what you have. But that's not why you elect a person. You elect them based on those qualities that will allow them to work, compromise, and promote your best interest and the interest of the city. Now, WCEG Media Enterprise has allowed me this time to connect with the people in my community. That's the dream of a person who is concerned or an organization that cares. Now, what about you? Will you go to a town hall meeting to meet and talk with other residents from across the city to find out what is happening in that area or this area and what we can do together to make the city better? If you are willing to do that, then you're on the road to making informed decisions, hopefully. We still have not made any progress with filing a writ of mandamus that would compel any elected official to do his or her job in keeping with their oath of office and the responsibility spelled out in their governing documents. That's it. You're not doing anything to hold them accountable. You don't go out there and pick it in front of a council meeting. Oh, that's beyond you. Well, one day when I'm feeling a whole lot better, I am going to talk to you and tell you exactly what the people of East Point, not the elected officials, but the people, what the people of East Point did from 2000 up until 2013. It was the people. And where are those people now? Where we are old, deceased, moved in homes. Yet enough of us remain here to know that It is the people who make the decisions. You make the decision not only with your vote, but with your presence in supporting council members who bring legislation to the floor, who bring votes to the floor for accountability. That is where we have to get back to. That is what we have to get back to. Oh, I preached my sermon for the day, but I have another one coming up. But I want to leave you with this. It's not too late now. We need to get started. October the 6th is the last day to register to vote in this year's election. You need to be out there getting people to the polls, getting people registered. And let's see what our candidates are doing. Let's see what our elected officials are doing in their seats to make things better before they are voted out or given another term. I really hope that you will listen and share. I have no problem with you emailing me, Ed Pittman, Ed Pittman 26 at bellsouth.net. Or you can get it off of my website. There's ErnestineDPittman.com. Or you can go to Google and Google my name. It will take you right there. No problem. Again, I want to thank WCEG Talk Radio for the opportunity to address you as your former mayor and former council member who knows deeply and cares deeply about our city, having been given the opportunity that I had been given not to allow you to follow anybody without knowing the laws on the books. That is what is needed. I will be back with you on the fourth Tuesday, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that you will share this information. And again, I want to say, on tomorrow, I'm going to have a double mastectomy. I want every woman out there, every man who has a female in his or her in his life, to make sure that they take their mammograms, that they go and take their wellness check at any age. I am 79, no history of breast cancer in my family, no history of cancer through DNA, and I am not a carrier. How I got it, I don't know, but it has been caught in time. Now, please, East Point residents, work together. Come together. What is good for one East Point resident should be good for all East Point residents. What is hurting one East Point resident should hurt all of us. When we work together in unity, we are stronger and can accomplish more. So again, thank you for listening. Hope that you will share, go online, leave comments. I will read them on Facebook. You can go to my website, to my Facebook page, and you can go to WCEG Media and leave a comment. And if you have further questions, we'll share those. But until we meet again, this is Queen Earnestine D. Pittman speaking to all the princes and princesses in East Point. Act like a ruler, stand tall, and be yourself. Again, my website address, www.ernestinedpittman.com. Hope to hear from you on Facebook or email. Thank you and have a good evening. Bye-bye.